Fast-paced, dramatic montage. Clips of a charismatic internet personality, Robyn, laughing, doing charity streams, tearfully sharing a personal story, looking defiant in an interview. All clips are slightly oversaturated. The editing is sharp, with quick zooms and impactful sound design. On the internet, identity is currency. Authenticity is the gold standard. We build parasocial bonds with creators based on a perceived truth, the truth of their experiences, their struggles, their character. And when that truth is questioned, the entire digital edifice can tremble. This is not just a story about a lie. This is a story about a narrative so compelling, so perfectly tailored to an audience's desires, that its unraveling didn't just expose one person. It exposed the fragile architecture of trust within an entire community. This is the story of Robyn, the viral footage that allegedly caught him in a lie, and why his fans are saying it changes everything. To understand the magnitude of the fall, we have to understand the ascent. Who was Robyn before the incident? Robyn's channel started in 2017, focused primarily on gaming tutorials and lighthearted Let's Plays. A competent but unremarkable presence in a saturated field. The pivot came in early 2020. In a video titled, "Why I Disappeared," Robyn, looking visibly exhausted, shared a story of personal loss, the passing of a close family member, and his subsequent struggle with depression. The video was raw, uncomfortably intimate. It wasn't professionally lit. The audio wavered, and that was its genius. It felt real. The response was monumental. The algorithm rewarded his vulnerability. His subscriber count exploded. Robyn had inadvertently, or perhaps very deliberately, tapped into a powerful archetype, the wounded healer. His content began to subtly shift. Less about the game, more about the journey. The narrative was built. A person who had been through darkness, using this platform not just to entertain, but to connect, to understand. He started a Discord server dubbed The Nest, a safe haven for fans dealing with their own mental health issues. He raised significant money for mental health charities. The community wasn't just fans. They were nestlings, a family. And Robyn was their compassionate, resilient patriarch. The cornerstone of Robyn's wounded healer persona was a specific, recurring anecdote. Let's call it the bench story. In multiple streams, charity events, and even a short, award-winning documentary by a fan filmmaker, Robyn recounted this tale. He described the lowest point of his depression. He would go every night to a specific park bench overlooking a river. He'd just sit there in the dark for hours. One particular night, he claimed, he was closer to the edge than ever before. But as he sat there, he got a notification on his phone, a comment from a viewer on his old, forgotten gaming video, saying, "This got me through a rough day. Thanks, man." He cited this as a divine signal, a moment of connection that pulled him back. It was the foundational myth of his channel, technology and community as literal salvation. The story was powerful. It was repeatable. And it was consistent, until it wasn't. The first public cracks weren't in the story itself, but in Robyn's demeanor. As his channel grew, so did the scrutiny. Commentators on smaller forums, places like the Deep Dive subreddit and skeptical commentary channels, began pointing to micro-expressions, to slight shifts in language when he told the story for the 10th, 20th, 50th time. Was it the polish of frequent retelling, or the slickness of fabrication? A minor controversy erupted when an old, deleted tweet resurfaced, showing Robyn, from the approximate timeline of the bench story, partying at a concert on the other side of the country. His explanation was swift. The dark period lasted years. There were good nights and bad nights. This was a failed attempt to feel something, anything. The nestlings mobilized, defending him fiercely. The explanation was accepted. But the seed of doubt was planted. Enter the footage. It didn't come from a drama channel. It didn't come from a rival creator. It allegedly came from within. The video file, simply named proof_final MP4, was uploaded anonymously to a file-sharing site and linked across every major forum simultaneously. It was a vertical cell phone video, seemingly filmed covertly from a jacket pocket or a cupped hand. The setting, a green room at a content creator convention, VidCon 2023. Robyn is visible, relaxed, leaning against a catering table. He's talking to two smaller creators, their faces blurred in the leaked version. The audio is slightly muffled, but after audio cleanup performed by the internet's legion of amateur forensic experts, the conversation becomes chillingly clear. The smaller creators are fawning, thanking Robyn for his work on mental health. And then one of them asks, "Dude, I have to ask. The bench story. Every time I tell it at my panels, it kills. How did you even come up with that?" There's a beat. Robyn takes a sip of a drink. He smiles, a smile his fans have never seen. It's not the warm, empathetic smile. It's a smirk of pure, unadulterated craft. Visual. Extreme close-up freeze frame on Robyn's smirk. A graphic splays out keywords: confidential, smug, calculated. The detonation was instantaneous. The video spread at light speed. The phrase empathy vector trended globally. The nest didn't just break, it shattered into a million screaming fragments. The response fractured into distinct camps. Quadrant 1, the devastated. Clips of fans crying on camera, reading heartfelt old comments, burning merchandise. Quadrant 2, the defenders. Clips of fans arguing the video is a deepfake, taken out of context, that empathy vector is just a clumsy way of describing storytelling. Quadrant 3, the detectives. Screen recordings of people analyzing metadata, comparing the convention floor plan to the video background, enhancing audio. Quadrant 4, the commentators. Other drama and analysis channels scrambling to make sense of it. The devastated felt a profound, personal betrayal. This wasn't just about a lie. It was about the theft of their emotional investment. They had shared their own traumas in his Discord, donated money inspired by his story. The defenders launched a counter-investigation, focusing on the video's provenance. Was the audio spliced? Could the smirk have been a reaction to something else? The detectives, however, began making connections back to those earlier inconsistencies, the concert tweet, the shifting details of the bench story over time. They weren't just looking at if he lied, but at the architecture of the lie. Let's pause the chaos and analyze the statement itself. The alchemy, a perfect empathy vector. This is the crux. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment denial or a cover-up. This was, if real, a moment of breathtakingly cynical pedagogy. Robyn was explaining his method. Let's break down the phraseology. Kernel of a bad Tuesday. This implies a minor, mundane inconvenience was the seed crystal for an epic tale of survival. It minimizes real struggle. Workshop the details. This is the language of fiction writing, of craft. Not recollection, but construction. Cinematic shit. A dismissal of the very emotional resonance he was selling. It's treating emotional beats as technical specs, the establishing shot, the bench, the metaphor, the river, the deus ex machina, the notification. Sand off the rough edges. Real trauma is messy, nonlinear, and often lacks a perfect, poignant climax. This admits to shaping reality into a palatable, satisfying narrative arc. Empathy vector. This is the coldest term of all. In mathematics, a vector has magnitude and direction. Here, the story is a calculated tool designed to direct empathy towards him, with a specific force and magnitude. It transforms shared human emotion into an engineering schematic. This wasn't a confession of a single lie. It was a window into a mindset that views personal narrative as a malleable tool for brand building. Robyn's official response was not immediate. For 72 hours, there was radio silence. The digital storm raged unchecked. Then a statement appeared, not a video, but a carefully worded thread on Twitter. The statement did not deny the footage's authenticity. Instead, it framed the conversation as a private, cynical venting session after a long con, where he was performing coolness for peers, and profoundly misrepresented his own feelings. He doubled down on the bench story's emotional truth, apologized for his flippant and hurtful language, but stood by the core reality of his struggles. It was a masterclass in non-apology apology, acknowledging the hurt caused by the exposure of the attitude, not necessarily the attitude itself. It satisfied no one. The defender said it proved the video was out of context. The devastated saw it as confirmation and semantic gymnastics. The detectives noted he never explicitly said the video was fake or deepfaked. To simply call this drama is to miss the profound cultural rupture it represents. This incident forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about the digital social contract. On authenticity, in an era where being real is the ultimate currency, what happens when that reality is professionally produced? When does shaping a narrative become manufacturing one? On parasocial relationships, the Nestlings didn't just lose a favorite creator. They lost a friend, a confidant, a fellow survivor. The betrayal felt was proportional to the intimacy that had been fostered. But was that intimacy ever real, or was it a design product? On the creator economy, Robyn's alleged strategy, the empathy vector, is arguably just the extreme end of a spectrum all influencers are on. You must be relatable, but extraordinary. Flawed, but inspirational. Authentic, but brand safe. The pressure to commodify your own personality into a consistent, marketable product is immense. Does this system incentivize or even demand the creation of foundational myths? On cynicism, the footage, if true, reveals a potentially deep cynicism not just in Robyn, but in the audience's fear that every heartfelt story, every tearful confession, could just be a focus group-tested vector for engagement. So where are we now? Robyn's channel is a ghost town. Sponsors fled. The Nest Discord has been permanently deleted. He streams occasionally to a fraction of his former audience, a mix of diehard defenders and cynical gawkers. The conversation has moved on, as the internet's attention always does. But the scars remain in the community. For the fans who believed, the experience has been a masterclass in digital skepticism. For other creators, it's a cautionary tale about the house of cards built on a single, perfect story. The viral footage of Robyn didn't just expose a potential lie. It exposed the tension at the heart of digital creation. We, the audience, crave authentic connection in a fundamentally inauthentic space, a performance space. Creators are tasked with performing their authenticity for us, often blurring the line between lived experience and effective storytelling. Did Robyn lie? The footage, his non-denial, and the subsequent collapse of his brand strongly suggest a profound fabrication at the core of his persona. But even if every word of the bench story was true, his empathy vector comment reveals a relationship with his own narrative that is, at best, deeply manipulative. What changes everything is not the lie itself, but the glimpse behind the curtain. It's the realization that the wizard might not just be amplifying his voice with a microphone. He might be constructing the entire persona with a script, a spotlight, and a calculated understanding of exactly which levers to pull to make you feel. The question this leaves us with, the one that changes everything for the next creator we choose to trust, is simple. Are we listening to a human being, or are we interacting with a perfectly crafted empathy vector? For nearly a decade, we have watched Mary Brown sit on the sidelines. We watched her wait. We watched her hope. We watched her stay in a spiritual marriage that, let's be honest, had been dead in the water since the catfishing scandal, and likely even before that. We saw her endure the cold shoulder from Kody Brown, the shifting dynamics with Robyn, and the slow exodus of Christine and Janelle. But folks, if you have been tuning into Sister Wives Season 20, or if you've been glued to the headlines this week in December 2025, you know that the narrative has officially shifted. Before we dissect the Ron situation, we have to understand the stakes here. Why is everyone freaking out over a speed dating segment? It's because for years, Mary was painted as the desperate wife, the one who wouldn't leave. When she finally did leave Kody, her first public attempt at dating, Amos Andrews, crashed and burned spectacularly. Remember early 2024? Mary introduced Amos. We thought, finally. But within months, it was over. Mary admitted that he wasn't her person and hinted that the public scrutiny was too much for him. That failure hurt. It fueled the trolls who said Mary doesn't know how to pick him. So, going into season 20, Mary had a chip on her shoulder. She needed to prove, not just to Cody, but to herself, that she is a catch. That brings us to the decision that changed everything, the Salt Lake City speed dating event. Let's analyze the event itself. This wasn't a high-end matchmaker service like we see on Millionaire Matchmaker. This was a gritty, awkward, real-world speed dating event at a venue in Salt Lake City. Mary brought her best friend, Jen Sullivan, who, by the way, is the MVP of Mary's post-Cody life. The editors did a fantastic job showing us the rejects first. This is crucial for the storytelling. We need to see what Mary doesn't want to understand what she does want. The dumb jokes guy. There was one suitor who tried to crack jokes about polygamy. Big mistake. Mary has a very specific sense of humor. She can laugh at herself, but she gets defensive if she feels mocked. This guy made a joke that didn't land, and Mary shut down. The house celebrity guy. Then there was the guy who asked if she was the house celebrity. This triggered Mary's fear that men only want her for the show. You could see the walls go up in her eyes. This segment was painful to watch, but it served a purpose. It showed us that Mary isn't just looking for any warm body to replace Cody. She is vetting these men. She is skeptical. And frankly, after 30 years with Cody Brown, who could blame her for being hyper-aware of red flags? And then, Ron sat down. Now, first impressions of Ron? The internet went wild. Some people pointed out that Ron has a certain flair. He's well-groomed. He's expressive. He's very polite. The chemistry. Unlike the other guys, Ron didn't lead with a joke about her past. He didn't ask about the TV show immediately. He asked about her. Mary's body language completely shifted. She uncrossed her arms. She leaned in. She did that trademark Mary giggle, the one we used to see when Cody would actually pay attention to her in season 1. Jen's stamp of approval. The most important part of this meeting wasn't Mary's reaction. It was Jen's. Jen Sullivan is Mary's protector. If Jen didn't like Ron, this would be dead in the water. But Jen watched them interacting and later told the cameras that she thought they would get along really well. That is a massive endorsement. Okay, fast forward to right now. The speed dating episode aired. We all thought, okay, cute segment, but did it go anywhere? Yes, it did. We just got a massive update via a new clip from an upcoming episode. This is the smoking gun that proves Ron wasn't a one-night storyline. The fundraising event. Mary hosted a fundraising event, likely for her B&B or a charity she supports. And who showed up? Ron. But he didn't just show up to drink the free wine and stand in the corner. This is the key detail Mary gushed about. Ron started working. Mary told the cameras, quote, "I think it's cute that he's just like, oh, what can I do to help?" And he's just helping. Let's pause and unpack the psychology of this. For 32 years, Mary was married to Cody Brown. Cody is a man of chaos. Cody is a manager, not a worker. When things needed to be done, moving houses, packing trucks, Cody was often barking orders or melting down. Here comes Ron. He sees a need. He fills a need. He helps set up. He helps manage the guests. The acts of service angle. Mary Brown is an independent business owner. She runs Lizzie's Heritage Inn. She sells clothing. She is a boss. She doesn't need a provider financially. She needs a partner. When she saw Ron rolling up his sleeves and helping her purely because he wanted to support her, that triggered an emotional response we haven't seen in years. It validated her worth. It showed her that a man can be a support system, not just a headache. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room. The skeptics. I've been scouring the Reddit threads, and there is a loud contingent of fans who think Ron is a plant. The evidence for the plant theory. The convenience. How lucky is it that at a random speed dating event, the one guy she clicks with his camera ready, willing to sign a release form, and perfectly fits the storyline. The connection. Some internet sleuths found comments from the speed dating organizer claiming they invited Ron specifically. Does that mean he was cast? Or just referred? The vibe. Some fans think Ron seems a little too eager to be on TV. Is he a fame seeker? However, even if he was invited by the organizer to ensure there were quality men there, that doesn't make the chemistry fake. Reality TV producers often salt the mine. They put good candidates in the room, but they can't force Mary to like him. She genuinely seemed to like him. And the fact that he showed up to the fundraiser weeks or months later suggests a real friendship at the very